Welcome back to the part 2 of this conversation. Part 1 will be left down below into the description. In this episode, however, I am accompanied by ChampionJason. He's a fellow Black Desert Online partner, a very well-versed PvPer, Valkyrie main in particular, and he has some very good takes onto what's going on currently, so he'll be accompanying me, and of course, we'll discuss this entirely. With that being said, guys, please do continue your support for this channel. It's amazing, and thank you so much once more. Let's get into it straight away. You can find ChampionJason's links down below. Please go ahead and support him as well. Love you to that, fellas. Let's get a go. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Verdict here, and today I have a very special guest over here with me to discuss the second part of this very huge topic, which is onto the PvPers' minds, and obviously, evidently so, it's, in my opinion at least, one of the biggest changes for the PvP ever to be considered by Prolibus, and I don't recall them ever communicating with us in this regard to pretty much have a conversation back and forth. So, what's up, ChampionJason? How are you, man?
Hello, I'm doing alright.
So, our boy here is currently sick, and I would like to thank you, man, so much for making the time, considering the fact that you're still battling with this evil virus that we cannot name on YouTube, just so you know. And it's a little bit of it's a great opportunity, and thank you so much for accepting this. Now, before we even start this entire thing, I think one of the most important parts is to kind of, how do we feel about this? What do you think in general, broadly, before we go into all of these three suggestions with PA, one after the other? How do you feel about these changes?
I mean, in general, I must say it's nice that they at least go ahead and say things like, "Hey, we're not only looking at KR, and we're gonna be working with the feedback from you guys." If that is true, then I'm very happy about that one. Otherwise, I can mostly speak for my own class, and for my own class Valkyrie, it wouldn't necessarily be needed a change, in my opinion, in that type of like more protection or less protection or something. I think it's pretty fine right now as it is. But I do see PA's need or wanting to change a few classes up. I don't think like it would need a full rework that every class gets changed. I think like just buffing weak performing classes could have been fine while nerfing higher performing classes. Because if you do full reworks, it basically changes like the entire thing again, and then you need to do buffs and nerfs afterwards again, right?
Absolutely. It's one of those things where I gave an example into the first part of this video, which was pretty much, imagine a Sork with a grab, an Awakening Sork with a grab. You just can't have that. It's one of the things, you just can't afford it at any given point. I think we spoke about this as well in our chats. Some classes, you can really make the argument that they do need a grab. You can really make an argument for this. But others, you just, you know, think about Suck Zerker. What is a Suck Zerker without the 3 grabs? Or sorry, an Awakening Zerker without the 3 grabs. It's not that prominent. And imagine removing all of them, you know, then you're having a meme class. But let's go through the very first method, and I'm going to quote Black Desert Foundry because they've translated it very well. The first method is to increase survivability by making defense checks tight, like in the last lap balance, and add skills or options that can break through these defense checks. In this way, it is expected that grinding efficiency will improve and survivability will increase, and survivability in PvP will also improve compared to before. Here, in 1v1 or small scale battles, it is a way to continue the battle by utilizing skills that can break through newly added defense judgments. I would like to just pretty much get an opinion onto that.
I mean, like, for Valkyrie, our protection is more or less fine. I think if we go through our kit, like the unprotected spells that we cast currently would be the vacuum, but you can cancel it really, really fast. It used to have frontal guard. Now it doesn't have anymore. So sometimes you get to see the note, which is a little bit annoying. But you can cancel it so fast. It's like not really an issue if it's unprotected, right? Blitz Step, which got frontal guard on the last global lab patch, which is a little bit ridiculous because it's one of our hardest hitting spells. It's a knockdown. It shouldn't be protected, quite frankly.
There are some
and
abilities,
the Magnus
yeah.
skill, like it's like the 3 unprotected. And the F jump flow, right? But like both the flow after my ultimate jump and Blitz Step got protection in the last global lab patch. And if that actually goes through, I basically have like 1 unprotected spell that I cast in the entirety of my kit. So if you don't have a grab afterwards and you don't get in my back within like half a second or something, you're just not going to CC Valkyries anymore. And I think that goes for a lot of classes from what I look at it, right?
Yeah.
I don't think they need to add a lot of more protection right now. For like some or most classes, right? Obviously, there is classes that are lacking it. Like there's classes that are just heavily underperforming. Like I don't know, Kuno, for example, is like heavily underperforming when it comes to PvP, in my opinion, right? But you don't need to rework the entire system of CCs to balance that type of thing, right? Like you can nerf Awakening Drakenia, you can buff Kunoichi, and you're already gonna make it a lot better, for example. You don't need to rework the entire system of how it works. You can nerf like 1 or 2 classes protections, and it's gonna be fine, right? You don't need to rework the entire system of how protections work again.
Absolutely. One of the things which I've noticed for this is usually, I'm pretty sure you're aware, perhaps we can open up a topic of conversation for this. Right now, there is currently this range meta that's been going on everywhere. And I like to poke fun at Red Battlefield. It's not Red Battlefield, it's Range Battlefield, because it's everybody over there that's playing all these range classes and this and that. And in a way, forward guards help manage such a meta. Usually, a range class meta such as, you know, archers, wizards, witches, everybody that is pumping from all this range, they're heavily countered by hard divers, which is Dracania, which is all these classes that can literally just go through, no effort, in the back line, blow them up, leave, or, you know, just do the job so that then the forward crew can keep on with the cleaning. And this is a meta that's been, we've seen this in League of Legends, we've seen this in pretty much Overwatch. Every single PvP has such a meta, and it's always the same counter to it. So, in my opinion, it would be a good change to manage range, if that makes some sense. What's your opinion on this?
First off, on the one topic with the frontal, I must say I am a big fan of frontal guard as well. I think it is better than super armor to me personally, especially in the range meta, right? Because if you cast like a long SA spell or something, you're gonna die during the cast of it if you don't cancel it, because that archer is gonna send you, right?
Absolutely.
For the ranged meta itself, like rangers and archers, especially in like Node Wars, RBFs or something, are like performing very, very well, right? For Node Wars, I would say it's a little bit of a mix between like, hey, you have a lot of archers and rangers, right? On the other hand, at least for Europe though, we do have like a lot of Vikes and Saxerkers, etc. as well, right? So we have like the front line that's like fully diving in, and then you have the back line that you're trying to protect at the same time. I do think that Archer, as an example, has like very, very good ways of kiting right now while having the range advantage as well, right? It is a class that, like, I think ranged as in itself should be considered a sort of protection or like an advantage in BDO. Because, like, for example, if you have a class diving on an archer, that class can like actually kite you so long while having the range on top of it, right? Like, I think like if you do get caught on it by like mispositioning or something, like you should be able to get punished in a way, right? Like, if the archer plays it properly, he can kite you for a very, very long time. Which is fine, I guess, if he's good, right? But if you consider that in a Node War meta where you're already having the massive advantage of being able to shoot from almost out of render distance, that's a little bit on top for me. And I think like if they had like a little bit less ways of kiting, that would for sure nerf them a lot in Node Wars.
Absolutely, I'm with you 100%, and I'm glad that you made this point about the ranged and archer. Many game developers consider range actually one way or another a defensive. So the reward for getting near a ranged character is pretty much killing them almost all the time. But some classes, as you just said, they kind of manage the fact that you're getting too close to them too well. And as you said, archer is a very good example. But then again, you know, it's a very subjective conversation if you think about it, because if you go right next to the ranger, she starts iframing and being useless while she starts jumping around, right? Until she can starts dishing out that again. So that's a cool way to summarize, in my opinion, the very first method which Pearl Abyss are suggesting. It would help all the different nuances, but the second method, in my opinion, is as we spoke about, a ludicrous one, I believe. Is this a fair assessment? If you think is it a bad one?
I mean, wait, huh? I must say I'm a little bit confused right now because the second one I think is the one that I've heard everybody.
The second one
enjoy the most. Yeah.
Okay, let's read the second one then. Of course, I'm a little bit baiting here, but the second method is to reduce the numbers of super armors to increase the front guard, to increase survivability and convenience of grinding, and to increase overall survivability by reducing PvP damage. In addition, classes without grabs, which which many adventurers constantly talk about, do not have the means to attack the back. So by removing the back guard, you can provide opportunities to everyone in PvP and increase the efficiency of defense decisions depending on control. So this is in my opinion the best one, and I baited first because I wanted to see where exactly do you stand on this, because this is usually stealing power from players, what they've just said here. We're going to steal power from the OP forward protected classes, Valkyrie being one of them, and then we're going to adjust everybody all around so that it's more of a fair battlefield. What's your thought on this?
I think like just that you mentioned it now, like it's taking away power from players. I don't think it's something that BDO players are necessarily upset about, because PA has been very afraid of nerfing classes, in my opinion. They've just been buffing and buffing and buffing. You see it with the PvE patch, for example, right? When Wusa was overperforming, instead of nerfing Wusa down, they buffed every single other class in the game up to Wusa's level. They're really afraid of nerfing classes, right? And the same goes for PvP now. You saw it by the last global lab patch. They're like, hey, we need to do something in PvP. We don't want to nerf though, so we just give everyone else more protection and we just buff everything in top. Which is not the way to handle things right now in BDO. I think people would be fine with nerfing, right? They actually want that, right? Like from the people that I've talked to, for example, like Armin, etc. They want classes to get nerfed instead. Like it's like Awakening Dracania or something, as an example, right? It's fine if they nerf classes, right? Like, for example, the second part of that one with removing the backguard, right? As far as I'm aware, it's basically removing SA blocks, right? If I press Q and I'm in block, I don't have SA protection anymore, but only front guard, right? I'm fine with that, honestly. Like, it's perfectly fine with me. It is a huge nerf in a way to Valkyrie, right? But that's okay with me, like, honestly.
Now, I'm okay with this as well, because currently I'm playing Awakening Mago, and the only strength which Awakening Mago has is pretty much to penetrate forward guard classes with one of our abilities. We're going to get behind you, but you can't do this on a warrior, you can't do this on a Valkyrie as well, because the forward guard is also SA protected, right? So it's something that is, again, a little bit of a, yeah, I'm fine with this, but you saying that you, as a Valkyrie, which you will be impacted by this, is fine. I think that's also cool, because to be completely fair with you, the number of people exploiting this in a way, pretty much, it's almost a skill limit. Is this fair to say? Think about it like this. You are going to press a button which nothing but a grab class can get you through, right? And then you just move freely. I think that's OP. And I think that's not a hot take to say.
I mean, 100%. If I find an Awakening Sorceress or something, I'm not using shit that's not like SA. I'm gonna be honest. I sit in Q block and I cast some SA shit, and I hope I have more gear than her to just kill her in SA. And I mean, that's how it goes for most people, right? I don't know if you've seen Zior fight against Luke for like 16 hours yesterday or 2 days ago. But the 1v1s between him on this Awakening Striker and the Awakening Sorc, he used like 1 or 2 frontals at max in a fight, right? Otherwise, he was just SA trading and hoping he would kill him in between.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you're just gonna lose against the Sorc, as an example, right?
Absolutely. Sorc is one of these classes that abuse forward guards very well. It's almost like she's made for it, right? It's one of the things which I've very struggled as a Mystic player, because Thunder Pound is our very OP forward guard, which probably will get ducked if this ever goes to live with this change here. But to be fair with you, every time, the split moment you use a forward guard, they're already behind you, you're already on the ground, and you're getting comboed. So yeah, it's absolutely necessary. Now, we see a pattern, in my opinion, with all of these changes. They're going to affect different classes in different ways. They're going to give more incentive for others, and it's going to create a different types of imbalance, in my opinion. So unless they're on point with this, the second part especially, with the forward guards, with lowering SAs, with this and that, depending on what they're trying to execute, depending on what the vision is, it will backfire for some classes that are extremely dependent on these, in my opinion. So is this fair? This is a fair thing to say.
100%. I mean, it's always the case, I believe, right? If you're going to make such major changes like this one, or like reboot or anything like that, right, that completely reworks entirety of systems of classes, you will always have weeks of probably higher imbalance than before. Right? We've seen it with reboots. There was like months actually of like full imbalance. The question is, and that is fine if they do that. The question is, how are they going to deal with it afterwards? Because if they go ahead and go, okay, we will look at it for like a week or two, and we will make fast but smaller adjustments and see if we can like slowly but surely get it in a direction where it is balanced afterwards, and they know what they're doing, that is fine with me. The thing that I'm worried about, and that I think a lot of PvP players in this game has worried, is PA tends to make changes like this and then leave it be for 2-3 months.
True.
And you're stuck with a state of a game, like after reboot, Awakening Musa, you're stuck with Awakening Musa after reboot for
Yes.
3 months that completely obliterates
Yes.
everybody, right? And that is the thing that worries a lot of people. I'm perfectly fine if they mess up even, right? It's completely fine if they go ahead and like 1 week later or something, they go like, okay, we noticed this class has been buffed way too much. We're going to tone it down a little bit, right? That is fine. You can
Absolutely.
admit mistakes, but PA tends to not, sadly.
Indeed, they're very keen on leaving things unattended for a long period of time and then doing the patch of we're sorry and then moving on. So it's something that we've seen happen throughout the time. Now, to be completely honest with you, with that Musa thing that you pointed out, that was one of the most disastrous moments in my just Mystic life, because we know that's an evasion busters. I'm an evasion class. You can't do anything against them personally, and it was a horrible moment to exist as a gauntlet when Musa is strong. Hey, with Suck Valkyrie, kind of the same. To be fair with you, they also pawn evasion, or at least they used to. So in terms of the second one, let's just wrap it up and move towards the third one, which got everybody talking. Like just the sheer suggestion, the arrogance behind the suggestion, or it's so ludicrous to the point where you're not sure if they're delusional or they know what they're doing, because the confidence behind such a statement is insane. So let's just read this through and get everybody familiar, because it is crazy. The third and final part is to maintain last week's patch and grab to all classes and add grabs to all classes. I repeat this, and sorry, I can't even say this normally. And add grabs to all classes. Grabbing is the most powerful of the status alignments, and since there are so many variables due to it, the intention is to make sure to the control part. For example, in the case where classes are strong in movement, such as Musa and Maewa, their strength in movement needs to be nerfed if they're given a grab. So we are considering various methods. Now, to be completely honest with you, for such a bold statement like giving grabs to everybody, that is way too much of way too little of an explanation. Just giving the two classes like Musa and Maewa as an example and saying we're considering various methods, that's not enough assurance for us to say, okay, they're probably onto something. They're cooking something good. So just to add a little bit from me before I go to you, I think this would be a good thing. But however, and this is my hot take for this episode, Jason, but however, not with the way grabs currently work, not the way they currently function, not with the way CC currently functions. And it will boil down to resistances, and we'll talk about to resistances, but what's your opinion on this?
I mean, when I saw it, I was like, okay, that sounds fun for like an April Fool's week for 1 week, and then they remove it out of the game again. Thank you. I don't know. I see the desire or like the cry out for having a grab from like Musa Sorgs every single time you fight them, right? They go like, yeah, but I don't have a grab. I don't have a grab. And it's like, okay, that's fair. However, you have permanent iframe movement, or you have like very fast permanent SA movement. That's one of that, right?
Yeah.
I think like a lot of classes in BDO right now are built from the ground up, like the entire class identity, like Musa Mewo with the movement, Sorg with the iframes and stuff. If you give them a grab, you have to nerf it to a point where I think a lot of classes start to like get very similar in play in like the same way or something, because you would have to nerf Sorg's iframes, you would have to nerf Musa Mewo's movement or something like that, right? And if you throw the grab onto that, and then after you give every single class that doesn't have a grab yet a grab, and you nerf the other thing that they are so like good in that it justifies them having a grab. I feel like it takes a lot of like how do you say, like unique like class designs or something out of the game, right? And I don't even think it would necessarily buff the balancing, because right now like Boozers, Bears or something, or like Sorgs, if they have enough AP, quite frankly, to say, they are fine with dealing block targets. Sure, in a 1v1, it's pretty annoying, goddamn. Like, let's face it, Sorgs hate fighting Valkyries just as much as Valkyries hate fighting Sorgs. It's just not fun. However, if you do manage to get like enough AP behind you can just if you manage to get the tech behind the back, right, and like it doesn't go into the block, I can tell you there's like a Sorg on the EU. It's his family name JMW. If he gets that attack in my back, I lose 70% of my HP with one hit. Like, I'm not having a good time. So they can deal with it. It's very annoying, I'm gonna be honest here right now. And I think Musamewa even have like extra block shreds or something by now that they got added in. And I think that's a better way of dealing with it. I don't think they need a grab, but giving them ways to deal with SA block classes, and in a way, the second suggestion that they suggested, right, with like just removing SA block, would for sure help them a lot as well, right? Like all of a sudden they wouldn't need a grab anymore because they managed to just get behind me, right?
Absolutely. I am gonna be a little bit honest with you. I think you can extract a lot out of each and every single suggestion that Perlibis gave, all of those three. You can literally give some classes a grabs that really need a grab. We're talking classes that are almost in a handicap situation without a grab, and they just don't have the means to chase back attacks like Musa, like Maewa do with their kids. They're almost, it feels like Musa, Maewa, Sork Awakening, it almost feels like they are made to exploit forward guards. And it is good to give them attention, right, in ways for them to be promoted more in viability, but at the same time, for them not to be punished when they exploit the only purpose which they have. Pretty much they're made for this, and often enough when they go for this, they are kind of unsafe. Some of the changes which they say about giving classes grabs, I'm up for this. For example, I know I'm biased on this topic, but give my Awakening Mego a grab. She's not really good. She is not really good. But
Awakening Mego is.
Yeah, you probably we've spoken. I've been on your stream a couple of times. You said that I'm one of the very few Awakening Megos you've ever even seen, or something like that, something along these lines. I'm not really sure what you said, but
I think I've saw one in open world so far. I know one of the GMs has played Awakening Mego, but I think he even swapped off it now. And then there's one more guy in the stream chat and you, right? So I think I know of like 4 people in total that play Awakening Mego in my life so far.
Me too. I think we're just 4 as well. Is in total, I think we're just 4 prominent people that play Awakening Mego, and it's, you know, it's biased that these conversations can be. It's very important to know that we kind of approach PvP from a biased perspective. We kind of want to be the king of the hill in a sense, and that can often enough cloud our judgment in terms of what is subjective, what is subjective. And in my opinion, it is very important for Pearl Abyss to not just look into these echo chambers or these small little boxes of ideas that they have and choose one and just pursue within it. I think it's super important for them to take away from each and one of these 3 suggestions and see which class needs what. And that could kind of boil down to, you know, well, that's a general PvP change, that's quality of life, that's health, it's not necessarily a direction. So why don't they just do this? And one thing that I'm very confused onto is, why would they even be so partial with these suggestions than just talk more class specific? What do you think is happening in Pearl Abyss's mind? Why are they just so closed off with these certain 1, 2, and 3? Why is it always 1, 2, and 3? Why is it not, okay, let's get 1 for this, 2 for that, 3 for these guys? What's your opinion on this?
I mean, that's what I basically meant earlier, I believe, when I said like it. At least right now, in the state that BDO is currently, I don't think it requires a whole rework like they suggested, right? I think, as said, right, like Nerf Awakening Dracania, maybe even Nerf Awakening Valkyria. I know a lot of people hate the class. That's fine with me. Buff things like Awakening Magus, Kuno or something like that, right? Just buff the bottom 2, 3, 4 performing classes like every week or every 2 weeks. Nerf the top 2, 3, 4 performing classes every week or every 2 weeks. And all of a sudden, like slowly but surely, in 2-3 months, you will reach a decently balanced game set, right? It's not going to be 100% balanced because there's too many different types of PvP that you can shine in, right? It's a whole different story if you're shining a Node War with a Ranger, or in 1v1s, or like large scale Archer, 1v1 Awakening Dracania, or something like that, right? It's a whole different thing to balance out, and you will never reach that every class is viable in every sort of PvP. But it's not meant for that, right? Obviously. But yeah, I mean, as you said, right? Just take away a few things from here and there and stuff, and give it to individual classes. I don't think you need to give every class more protection, every class less protection, every class a grab. Look at the class individually, give them a little bit more protection, a little bit less, if like nerfing by giving them less protection, buffing by giving them more protection, etc. I think it would work. Like I think if you buff the bottom 3, 4 performing classes, now 2 weeks in 2 weeks you look at it again and you do that for 2 months, I think a lot of people will stop complaining. And I'm not even saying that like buffing the bottom classes is what people want a lot, but nerfing the top performing classes because
That
BDO
is
tends
true.
to leave overperforming classes for too long. Every
Yes.
single season of AOS, you've seen it. It was like Succession Dracania release, she stomped AOS. Succession
Yes.
Mega release, she stomped AOS. This season, Awakening Dracania, stomped AOS. You have one or two classes every single season of AOS that dominate the entire season. Why does it take them so long to adjust classes?
And not just that, you have one person on 4 accounts with the same class, so it's like it's crazy. I've seen
Yeah.
this. I'm not the most prominent AOS player. I just don't think the mode is perfectly balanced, but I am kind of approaching this from a little bit of playing World of Warcraft for 17 years. I know how a 3v3 needs to look like, and AOS for me is not it, so I'm kind of leaving it as it is until they kind of probably do it as much as I would like. But in reality, just to go back a little bit onto the grab situation, I think grabs are identical for classes, and some classes are meant to grab, some classes aren't meant to grab. And I think it speaks to class fantasy to not have and to have a grab. And it's as we said, just to close the topic, it's very fair to say none of these three suggestions will work if they're executed as in it's only one, only two, or only three. I think it's fair to say we need all three of them. But situationally, be subjective, be objective be objective without being subjective. And just to kind of go into a little bit of a different topic, we have to touch upon resistances, because resistances is such a controversial topic. It's so hard to fight resistances. It's so hard to not be with resistances. It's almost a definitive point. It's something that you have to have. And one of the main points which I made upon the first part of this video was, well, we have to look into why are grabs strong. Well, grabs aren't strong just simply because they grab. Grabs are strong because of what they enable you to do as a class. And we spoke a little bit about this, me and you, into our DMs. It's a little bit like you get somebody grabbed, they drop on the ground, and then what happens afterwards? Well, you down smash them. You smash them to oblivion, you kill them, right? So it's the strength of the grab. And one question that I'm going to ask you, and perhaps it's a two-parter, how would you think, and just this is the first one, how prominent do you think grabs would be when you cannot one combo people? And the second part would be, how OP do you think grabs could be if you could deal a lot of damage but not have these smashes, extended CCs, etc.? Because this is something that is all tied up to resistances.
I'm gonna take AOS here as an example because it is the game within the game where you're as tanky as you probably get in BDO currently, I would say. In AOS, sure, some classes can one combo you, especially if it's like a 1v1 scenario and you're isolated. But usually in the 3v3 scenario, if you get grabbed, you don't necessarily die unless you get focused by like at least two players, right? So I think that is like in AOS, grabs are still very, very good though, obviously. Like grab is just, it is by far the best opening CC, right? Because it gets you out of other protections and stuff. A lot of classes have the ignore grab resist passive for some reason, right? So it just currently as the game is, grab is the best opening CC to go on with. And I think it's not gonna change if you can't one combo people, right? Like I think that is either way, grab will always be the best CC simply because how it's designed, right? It gets you out of things that are everything except for iframe. I think grab will always stay the best CC because it's just the easiest to land in a way, right? Because you don't need to look too much at what the enemy is doing and you can press it, right?
It's the easiest simply because you just go in and click it. It just lands. It's there, right? It's not a skill factor. It's not you messed up with your protection. It's not I did something randomly. It's just simply there for you. And what about the second parter, which is getting onto the ground, getting smashed, getting pretty much the resistances to work then against your favor? I think it's very important for us to kind of all say that, well, the reason for which people hate resistances is because you messed up, I didn't, and I failed to punish you because of something that is outside of both of our control. I think that's a very fair assessment of the resistance situation.
Yeah, I mean, resistance just throws an RNG factor into a skill-based matchup, which, in my opinion, just shouldn't exist. It's just so frustrating. I'm actually gonna take grab resistance here as an example, and it's a hot take because I know a lot of people like it. But for me, if I go ahead and I want to grab you, right, and I land the skill check of going, okay, you're not in an iframe, I would land my grab, right? You resist cast a CC spell because I'm stuck in an uncancelable non-protected animation, right? Because you resisted it. I get forced into an animation that is not protected and I can't cancel. And then I get CC'd, go on the ground and I die for it, right? Where did I mess up? I hit the skill check, the 1-0 of, oh, you're not iframing, I land my grab on you. However, you got the random RNG factor of 50-50, you win the resistance trade, and you see me and I die for it. That's just not rewarding gameplay, right? You can
It is.
think of grabs what you want, but it's just not rewarding gameplay to win the skill check, get punished by an RNG system that you can't even counteract depending what game mode you play, because there's just not enough ignore resistance in the game if everyone is stacked because of shies and stuff, right? Um, and then you get punished for being the
Absolutely.
better player. That's just not rewarding. It shouldn't be here. I'm sorry.
I agree with you 100%. Resistances is not a thing that should be in the game ever, and it should go immediately. It's
For
almost
PvP, PvE, I think it's
for
fine.
PvP, yeah. PvE, sure, because it adds nuances, right? It adds desirability differences, etc. But for PvP, as you said, it's so true. And I'm going to lead to something with this. A quick question: have you played WoW, World of Warcraft?
No.
You've
Video is the
never
first
played it.
MMO
Well,
I've touched.
all right, so let me give you a quick explanation. So in World of Warcraft, there were resistances in the game at the start. But since it's a tab targeting MMORPG, whenever you were to land a stun, every stun had a 5% chance to resist if it was a magical stun. So you had a 5% chance of pretty much saying, ha, you didn't land it, and there was barely any way for you to manage it. As game progressed, they removed it, and they removed it completely on the 7th year of its existence. And right now in BDO, we are exactly in the 7th year as well into the game's existence. It's almost ironic in a way, but there is this concept, the 7th year of a game. It's when it changes fundamentally, and it's always for the better. So in World of Warcraft, these grabs, these checks, once they were removed, it became obvious that, well, if everybody will have access to CC, then something needs to be done for you to be able to be freed from CC. What's your opinion on conditional freedom? And what I mean by this is, imagine that our emergency escape currently, when you get grabbed, you can just simply press the V button and you get snapped out of the grab. And that is the condition that everybody has a grab. Resistances are not in the game. Do you think this will play good or bad?
So with the V suggestion that you just made, I think it would be fine. However, you would need to somehow restrict the player from casting a CC spell himself afterwards or something, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
imagine you're grabbed and I want to follow up CC or something. You press the button, you go
Yeah.
for a very fast CC or grab yourself, and all of
Yeah.
a sudden I'm laying on the ground with not even having time to react or something, right? There should be a skill component if you do it like your suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
If I notice, oh, he's cleansing my CC, I should be able to have at least half a second or a second or something, right? To have the skill check of, oh, I'm gonna back off, right? I notice I will back off and I won't get punished myself for it, right? If you
Absolutely.
do that, I think it would be fine. In general, making a change to V would not be bad in my opinion either. Because I mean, how it is right now, there's so many classes in the game, and it's also a little bit skill and player dependent, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you V, there's plenty of people that are able to track you down, or the class allows it to. If you take Awakening Nova, for example, if you play Arena of Asha or Arena of Solar or anything, and you go ahead and V, your chance of dying is higher than if you hope that you don't get re-CC'd or you somehow magically survive. Because there's players and classes like Awakening Dracania, Awakening Nova, Musas and stuff, right? They're gonna get you. You could be out of the vision distance and they will still get you while you're CC'd by the V at the end. You will die, no matter what.
It is a skill factor. It is a skill factor, and it's of course we're talking wild stuff right now. It's just speculation, suggestions, this and that, and just on the topic, it would be very smart move from Pearl Abyss, in my opinion, really to do changes to the V as well, because the emergency escape it takes away the reverse play in a sense, because once you press that V, you're useless for the duration. You have to get out. The price of that is you got to get out of the battle, but you remain alive and you can rejoin it. But it's not always that, right? So as you said, Dracania, Mooses, Awakening Novas, they're very good at punishing those Vs. So perhaps that's their bread and butter in a sense. If you think about it, you could make that argument, but it's not a fair assessment in my opinion. So overall, Jason, the discussion has been going great. And do you have anything in terms of a suggestion from yourself? How do you envision a better PvP in BDO considering these three suggestions? In general, we spoke about you want these changes to the essay, you want this and that. But if you were to be biased, if I were to provide you this opportunity to tell me what you exactly want to see.
I mean, I think the outside of all of that, the first suggestion that any PvP player is gonna tell you is like remove resistances. It's something that people have been crying ever since they added them into the game. So yeah, just like scrap resistances. It's a bad thing, especially for everything that's small scale. It shouldn't be there, especially with PA thinking like, hey, we want to go more for AOS and stuff, right? Just remove it. It makes it very unfun to play. For the whole like three options that they suggested, I do like to see the fact that they go like, hey, we're not only listening to KR but all regions, and I really, really hope from the bottom of my heart that they will stand true to that statement. Because so far, like in the 7 years I've played, EU and NA players have always been like, okay, we can suggest whatever we want. It's not getting hurt anyways when it comes to class balancing. You saw it last season AOS, Awakening Dracania was broken in four major regions, but not in KR, so it never got touched, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the type of thing that I'm really looking forward to. And I really hope they just look at AOS leaderboards or like node wars and stuff from all regions and not only KR. It's one of the major things that I think would be very helpful for the game. And then small patches, but more often instead of making every 3 months a patch that guts entire classes. Like you buff them to the moon where they overperform, and then you leave it for 3 months, and then you completely gut it again. It's just a balance like type of like it's a way of balancing that I don't think works out properly, and it hasn't worked out properly for PA. So my 3 things that I would wish is remove resistances, look at all regions, not only KR, and view classes every 2 weeks or something. Look at them, give them small buffs, like small nerfs, and see how it develops and go in 2 weeks again. Don't let classes be broken or completely useless for 3 months before ever looking at it again.
Absolutely. I'm with you. With you on this one. Absolutely with you on this one. And I'm glad you made that Korean comparison, because Awakening Mystic, I'm sure you know, is in shambles in terms of its damage. It's not desired. Nobody wants Awakening Mystic for any situation, any condition. Really, it's just almost a dead class in specialization. And the Mystic community saw that in Arena of Solaire in Korea for one of the seasons, or I'm not sure what entirely the situation was, an Awakening Mystic was on rank 1 for some period of time player. And it almost feels like Korea used that, oh, the class is perfectly fine, skill issue, get better, in a way. So they refuse to touch upon this. And perhaps seeing what's happening currently, if you probably know, you're well aware that for the first time ever, the West and the Far East are touching in terms of feedback. We're starting to talk with one another, and that's all for the good. And unfortunately, Twitch Korea shut down, and that leaves us really, really in a poor state of kind of maintaining this, but new ways are being developed, thought about, and I think it's going to be great for us as a community to finally have this one place where we can discuss topics like this. And luckily enough, probably things are going to come. So, ChampionJason, thank you so much for being a part of this part 2, man. It's been great. Thank you for accepting the invitation, and man, hope they see this. I really do hope they see this.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, man.